of careers, or indeed try before you went?
No, I never considered anything else. I played the Mad Hatter, aged 8 or so. Heard everybody laughing and thought, oh, that's what I like. I'm going to do that. And so yes, knew right from that moment that's what I wanted to do.
And did you do plays at school and that sort of
thing? Plays at school. It was an all-girls school.
Yeah.
So sadly I played a lot of men. And I played Hiawatha.
Yeah.
That was fun. All the males in the Shakespeares, because I was tall.
Yeah.
At the time considered tall. It was all. And then I left school in order to go to a tech college to take a drama A-level because my school didn't do drama.
Yes. What about you, Neve?
I don't know. I think now that I do it, it's kind of hard to think that I ever thought of doing anything else. But yeah, I had those sort of, as a kid, I'm going to be a vet, I'm going to be an international show jumper, I'm going to, all sorts of crazy things. Or I did want to go to art college more than drama college at one point, but then no, I'm done with college. Just going to study it.
Do you draw with paint?
I still sketch a little bit.
Oh, good.
Yeah, just doodle.
Yeah.
But mainly, it's doing this work now. It's taken over.
Yeah. And where did you train?
I went to Bristol Vic.
Bristol Vic, yeah.
I did what was then the Royal Scottish Academy.
Okay. Is it not that anymore?
No, it's now the Royal Conservatoire. So yes.
So I mean, presumably when you're training to be an actor, you don't have workshops on playing reptiles who are millions of years old.
Not quite, no. We did actually do an animal workshop though. One time it was that you had to find an animal and bring it, and then we would improvise a scene using certain things. And I went to the zoo and chose rhinoceros. So I should have gone to the reptile house.
I don't suppose we can have a demo. Neve as
Damn it, should have mentioned that. No. All I did was start sitting on floors and kind of trying to imagine having a massive horn in front of my face. Yeah. Wasn't that?
And just following up from that, I don't think you've done this, Jacqueline, but the playing aliens is, well, I suppose they're not technically alien, are they, the Silurians?
Yeah.
But
we were here first.
Yeah, it must be quite difficult to draw on full experience, your own experience to transfer to a fantasy character like that.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it's obviously not like playing any other human, but there are still sort of physical characteristics that you try and adopt. Things. I watched lots of David Attenborough. Lots of lizards. Yeah, lots of lizards.
Oh, that famous one where the snakes are coming out after that's so scary.
Komodo dragons.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
You watched a lot of Komodo dragons?
Yes, and monitor lizards.
Wow. But they just sit there, don't they? Just sort of...
Not all of them, no. I went travelling and I was a tiny little island in Indonesia. I was going to a dive, to go on a dive, and I'm walking across this patch of grass, and the next minute, a monitor lizard just decided to run straight past me. Just like that. I was just stood still going, and I couldn't get my phone out quick enough to take a photograph.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, my cousin!
And Jacqueline, you've played lots of different people in your career, including our beloved Prime Minister Theresa May.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Well, sadly I didn't meet her before, but I did meet her afterwards, which was good, because I very much would have loved to have, tapped her brain. But it's like anything when you're researching, as you say, you try not to sort of plaster things on, you try and find it from within, don't you? And so even though politically I wasn't in her party, and I might not have agreed with many of her doctrines, you find everything that you have in common, and so my research found that she was a genuine woman who genuinely wanted to serve, who was kind and clever. She may not have had the people skills that I think people were looking for at that time, which was her downfall. which is a shame because I think she had other skills. I mean, as I say, it wasn't my party, so I'm trying to sort of stay neutral. But it was interesting. Anyway, fast forward, I'm at a theatre, an open air theatre, and she's there. And she's in the audience, so in the interval I go and sidle up to her very sort of quietly, but the guy she's with says, "Oh, you're Jacqueline, you played." Teresa, so luckily he knew exactly who I was. She wasn't letting on whether she'd watched it.
I bet she had.
I'm sure she had. And she was very kind and just said, "Oh, you're too young to play me," which was so sweet of her to say. But that was nice.
Yeah, because that was with, who played Boris Johnson?
Oh gosh, don't put me on the spot with names. I hope he was terrific. He really was terrific.
But Boris is much easier to do, I would imagine.
It was more of a caricature,
Yes.
but he did it.
But he is a caricature.
Yes, exactly. I mean, how else do you play Boris Johnson? She's more subtle and so difficult to get the hook on. Just that croak in the voice that I think helped.
Croak in the voice?
She has a slight break as she speaks.
So she does. So she does. How interesting. Thank you for that.
Neve, I have a question about the transformation process of becoming Madame Vastra.
It's a long time in makeup for a start. It takes about 3.5 hours, 4 nights to get all the head, the neck.
Do you sleep or?
Once when they're putting on the very fine bit in the front face, we decided it was really nice I could get my nap, and that meant that I wasn't busy talking to Dan, who's in the next chair most of the time, and we would just laugh and joke all the time. They could get on with their work if we weren't actually having a nap. We could get the work done quicker, but once you're sort of in that, I suppose I've played it so many times, you get the feel of her again, and she sounds different with all that on my head as well. And once they get you in the costume as well, that gives you a posture that get tied into the corset every morning. You're like, no breakfast, that's good. But I suppose, with Vastra, at first, it was like, oh, she's kind of a new Silurian, this is nice. It doesn't have to be very much the way that I played the other ones. So I can make her a bit more human and a bit more, jokes. So she's a bit more fluid. I don't know the best way to describe it, but then it was nice she's a bit more human in essence. So and then of course they start a sword on and I was like, she's in time.
Very good.
What was it like to revisit Sylvia after so many years of not playing her?
Oh gosh, what an excitement that was when I got the phone call. It's because over the years, it had been, I can't remember, 12 years or something like that since I played her. And got a phone call from my agent saying, okay, you're back, but just for 3 answers, or 2 out of the 3. But keep it a secret. I was like, what? And he said, no, you can't say anything until you, in fact, even way after filming. So that was something like November, I can't remember the dates, but it was something like, a couple of months before we started filming, and then the 2 months of filming, and then the long wait before it was out. And it was the secret that was just so hard to keep. I was bursting, I wanted to tell everyone. And so often, the question is, when I meet people, oh, will Sylvia Noble be back? And I have to lie and say, oh, no, that doesn't happen. and then people would say, oh, Russell T's back, surely he'll bring back the Nobles. I go, no, it moves on. I don't like lying, I'm hopeless. Anyway, it was great to answer your question. Fantastic. Felt like putting on an old skin, an old jumper.
When it was easy to find the character again after that time.
Well, obviously I'm not going to say easy because what we do is desperately hard. Obviously it was tremendous hard work, but no, we loved it. And I would say, speaking for the entire cast, on that first day, we all felt like we were just putting on the old jumper. But
her voice is rather different from yours, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, you're RP and she's, Cockney?
Well, when I first got the job, I was just trying to emulate Catherine.
I see.
Trying to do my best Catherine. obviously I'll never reach her dizzying heights, so she's got a terrific voice, but I just tried to do an older version of
Do you
her.
think Sylvia got nicer?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, she's quite unpleasant in the early ones, isn't she?
Well, that's what I'm told. It's going back to that Theresa May thing. You always play things with integrity, don't you?
Yeah.
And so obviously I played her with the reasons for why she behaved the way she did, being strongly in her mind that it was out of love, out of protection, out of believing in what she was doing was right. And of course she comes over as hard and controlling and bitter. She comes over not so well. So it was lovely that later on that yes, a softer side was shown.
Is there a bitterness in the character?
Is there bitterness? Not now.
Not now.
Not now. I think there was. Because, oh my God, she just lost her husband.
Yes.
Her daughter had married a man who turned out to be a monster. Then her father disappears for eons on end on extraordinary adventures. She doesn't know where her daughter is. Oh, anybody would be driven insane. And then finally, at the end of series 4, to be told that her daughter's life was in danger. I mean, that's just the ultimate for a mother to hear.
Uh-huh.
Because even before, when she didn't know her daughter was travelling, did you find it difficult that she comes across as not very maternal?
It's a hard one to answer. As I say, I was internalising that she had great faith in her daughter, but I don't think she realised how incredible Donna was. She had no access to the Donna that you all saw, who was capable and brilliant and inspired and funny. Sylvia only saw her daughter out of work, unhappy in love, and frustrated. And so Sylvia never got to see the Donna that you all saw. But she finally saw her and got proud. Yeah.
Which was your favourite older Doctor?
Ooh.
I grew up watching Tom Baker, so he's always been kind of my favourite, because that's what I remember from my childhood and hiding from the Daleks. So definitely Tom.
I started with William Hull, so that's it's always the number one for me. Of course, surpassed by David, but I'm biased.
Did you watch it when you were young then?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It
Yeah.
was huge in my house, yeah. My brother was about 18 months older than me, something like that, and he's mad dad still. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Question for Neve. What was it like working with Christopher Benjamin on the crossover for the Paternoster and Jago Lightfoot?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And would you like those two teams to cross over a few more times, which sadly they can't?
Well, we can't. I know, sadly, no, we can't. But it was great fun, because I wasn't that familiar with the Jago and Lightfoot offshoot either. So when they wrote one, because we're obviously we're fighting all sorts of weirdness in Victorian London, so they should cross over more, I think. It would be nice, but it's hard because we have to make sure that if we're doing stories for the Paternosters, that they're not what they've already done with Jago and Lightfoot, which is difficult sometimes. But no, it was lovely. It was a bit like having a bit of audio royalty in the room, and it was very sweet, lovely. And just we did our job, and had a bit of fun.
Jacqueline, have you done Big Finish?
Yes, quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, way back, my very first one was with Derek Jacobi,
Ooh.
and I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, and it was my birthday, and I couldn't wish for a better birthday present.
Yeah.
And he was a hoot, and he was playing the doctor, and I was playing the assistant.
Which one was that?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Someone
Was that the Unbound one?
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that's very good. It's got a chin, isn't it?
Is that one of the war doctors?
You tell me.
Oh, right.
Thank you.
Television production has changed so massively in the last 20, 30 years from 5 cameras and a television recording studio to the way in which it's done now, bit by bit. Has it required much changes of how you approach roles? The differences between how it was done back when you were starting out to how it's done these days?
Yeah.
I think time is now on our side. because it always used to be all about the cameras and the lighting and the sound, and everything took forever to line it all up. And so the actors were the last people to be considered, and you were sort of put into the scene at the last minute. And unless you got it right, first time there was heaves of sighing and groaning and good God, you let us down. And so now it's so much freer. It's less expensive, of course, because it's not reels and reels of film, and you're able to focus on what you're supposed to be doing instead of being in a rush.
Yeah.
That's the theory, anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because when I started, I worked on a lot of film. And yeah, there'd always be, you do a great take, and something, oh no, here in the gate, you need to go again. But now with digital, it's great. They can just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. It is good. Although I do miss when they weren't about the camera. That's when you get time to have a cup of tea and a biscuit. Particularly for me, a bourbon cream. But now it's like you just get your lips to the teacup and they're like, no, you're back on Neve. All right. You know, there we go. But yeah, I like it. It's a lot better. There's a flow now to it rather than a lot of stop, start, which can frustrate what you're trying to do.
Absolutely, yeah. The last emotional scene I did, I was sitting in the back of a car and was supposed to be tearing up, so I was just practicing it for it and getting into character. And the director said, "Okay, she's tearing up, go." And it was wonderful. It was wonderful because I was there, and he was able to just get cameras and sound and everybody straight into it, so that there wasn't that build up of I'm not there yet.
But in the days of multi-camera, you had more rehearsal time, didn't you?
I suppose yes,
yeah.
You did. You had a bit more rehearsal. That's There's sometimes there's a bit of a. I've worked on things where they're like, right, okay, just let's we'll read through it and then block, but they want to do it all in one, and you're like, okay, can we just get the words right and then we block it and just slow down because everything is a lot quicker. But sometimes you're like, no, I still need to rehearse. Yeah, what I'm doing. Yeah, a little bit.
It depends on the project, because it can still change, can't it? That you can do one telly one day where it's in, out, and you've forgotten about, and then the next day you're doing something else, and it's really time taken to consider.
Jacqueline, what was it like to work with Bernard Collins?
That's my trigger word. Bliss on a stick. I mean, the man was exactly as you'd expect him to be. He was just kind, funny, witty, so generous, so lovely. When I did my very first episode with him, we went to the screening of it in London. And as we arrived at the screening, of course, everybody was going, oh, Bernard, and they were longing to be. And of course, nobody had a clue who I was, which is fair enough. But Bernard kept turning and saying, now, this is Jacqueline, and this is who she's playing. And he was just so sweet, and that's exactly who he was. Just lovely, down to the core. Didn't agree on everything, because you don't with friends, do you? You know, he loved his hunting, shooting, and fishing. That wasn't something I was keen on. But we always agreed to differ.
Because he's a bit of Doctor Who royalty. You know that in the 65 film that Jill was in, he was in that. But obviously playing a different character and much younger, but you know, sort of 40 years separated those two.
And for his last role to be this was just gorgeous for us.
Yes.
Gorgeous to have him, just even for that one scene.
Yes.
Lovely.
What about the other Paternoster gang members?
What?
Are they nice?
Oh my God! Oh, lovely, absolutely lovely. Well, Katja doesn't live in London anymore, so I don't quite see as much of her. And she's got a young family as well now, so she's quite busy with that, obviously. But Dan is still in London, and we meet up quite a lot now and have a few beers and chat about lots of things like Doctor Who and comedy stuff. But we just, anyone who was a Paternoster gang will know that we wrote one together. And so we keep coming up with more ideas to pitch till we finish to write some more, hopefully, if you let us.
Who decided that Silurians were English and not Scottish?
Me, I suppose. Well, I wanted to do something something a bit different. I mean, my first ones probably more, but there's still a little bit of Vastra that's got a little bit Scottish. But yeah, I suppose because that's what all the monsters were when I was watching Doctor Who as a kid. So I just went into, well, that's what everyone is.
Yeah.
Everyone talks like that. It's sinister. So I might do that then. Yeah. So
I remember as a child the first time I watched Star Trek thinking it was ridiculous that the aliens spoke with American accents. Because everybody knows that aliens speak with our
Both of you have been involved in Big Finish. Is there any story that you think would translate particularly well to the TV series?
If we had any budget, there are some brilliant ones out in space, you know, with all those CGI effects we could afford on that. That's why it's great doing audio, you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I don't know, maybe there's so many, sorry.
No, but that's a good point about audio. You can go anywhere in the world.
Anything.
And of course it's so much more expensive to put that on.
I don't know. The next one, Dan and I write. There we go.
I want to know, did you have any funny moments behind the scenes or any mishaps that you remember that you think you could share?
There's that video of you, of Dan Starkey singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and you
Yeah, that was very good. He came up with, because as I said, you and Dan and I sit in the chair and we just bantered all the time, and so we were talking about, because it was a Christmas episode, and if we could do something that make it more Christmassy, so Dan then came up with that he would sing Christmas carols, but obviously in his own inimitable way that Stax would do it. So yeah, that was that's great. I can't remember. Well, yeah, they actually went and filmed it because we were giggling and coming up with ideas and stuff, and Matt overheard it and he's like, "What are you guys giggling about?" So of course Stax had to make an appearance. So yes, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and then because it's always something about obliterating whatever. Red Robin goes bob bob until I take my legs, like I'm about to destroy it, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, so that ended up, that was great fun. Dan getting stuck in the doorways, because he actually can't get through them, he has to move sideways. But they cut that bit out. Yeah, stuff like that. Dan mainly.
Carl was always our joker in this last Star Beast episode. And he was always taking the mickey out of me because of my running, because I'm not the most elegant runner in the world. And so he made darn sure that he was behind me so he could watch this inelegant run. And he would just be constantly muttering under his breath and trying to get me to laugh while I'm running. What else? This went on, him trying to draw attention to the fact that I was older than him. And so when we were on the lorry, I was bounding up onto the lorry going, "Yeah, come on, Carl, follow that." And so he did. And then when it came to coming off, I had to have 3 people to help me get off.
Jacqueline, this is my question for you. So, if the mothers of New Who were to unite at some point, what would the scene be like?
If all the mothers?
Yeah, so like Jackie, Tyler, Sylvia and Francine.
Yeah, oh my God. Oh, I think we'd have a ball, wouldn't we? We'd sit there and moan and bitch and tell each other, whine about what our kids have been up to.
Basically, it would be like EastEnders on steroids.
I think you summed it up.
The prologue that Neve read beautifully earlier on was the first book I owned and here I am 50 years later. What pieces of fiction have had a lasting effect on your careers?
Started with Jane Eyre, adored it, I've always loved that, and I'm still a very avid reader and huge variety of novels. I tend not to read science fiction, if I'm honest. I like I find the world as it is so fascinating and people in it so riveting that I don't have room in my brain to take it to another dimension.
I don't know, just I've read so much. Probably actually some of the early Target books for Doctor Who as well, because they're still living. I recognise so many covers. I always have a little rummage through as well. I'll be visiting.
Didn't you tell us that your brother had a collection of guitar books?
Yeah,
and you used to pinch them?
Yeah, I used to pinch them. I used to stick into them because my older brother was like, stay in my room. He's like, yeah, but you got fun things, isn't it? And I got to read magazines and stuff, and he was like, you've been in my room again, because I've just got big books, the magazines. So a lot of that, I think, because of these comic books as well, I think that was a big influence on me as I was a kid, and for art and for acting.
Comic books?
Yeah, some comic books as well.
Anything in particular?
I love the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Love that.
Was interesting.
Yeah. But also like Doctor Who comics and books and Star Wars comics and books. So yeah, I can read quite a lot of sci-fi.
When you got the part of the Silurians, did you go back and rewatch John's Doctor Who and the Silurians, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, I did. I went because I've got. I was working backstage in the West End at the time, on Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and there were two guys, mad daft Doctor Who fans, and because they'd heard I was up for it, and because obviously before the time of severe NDAs, so Peter, who works at the stage door, lovely Peter, went, you'll need these, this is for research. And I went, okay, and it was the previous to, because going back and watching the John Pertwee one, and it was a Hadron Collider in that, which was great, and they just opened the CERN, and I thought, oh, it's going to be all this, and this will be amazing, I'll have like a ray gun at my forehead and stuff. But they showed me, when I went in for it, they showed me the revamp. It was very sexy. I thought, oh, right, okay. But obviously I've got a tongue now, not the laser eye. I was a bit disappointed about that. I wanted the laser eye, third eye, that you could get, but it was, I rewatched them just before.
And they used to wobble their heads, didn't they?
Yeah, well, it's amazing when you see the first ones, like, obviously like paper mache, you can see the guy's mouth moving through. I mean, the second one, the Peter Davison one, they're a bit more latex. But just great fun, though. Great story the first one.
A bit more like tortoises in the Davison one, aren't they?
Yeah, it was a bit, that's something like a shelf in it.
Did you say you wore the corset as well?
For Madame Vastra, yeah. I was in the corset for Madame Vastra.
So it must be an extremely uncomfortable job.
Do you know what, once everything sort of warms up, when you first do something, you're like, oh, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, I just want to be in bed with a cup of tea and a bit of toast. And once you get warmed up into it, once you're walking and moving, it's good fun, you forget it, and you just...
I once wore a corset, we did a film about the Mayflower, and we were filming on a replica Mayflower in the States. And I was so corseted up for this, and as I was boarding the ship, I was so uncomfortable. I thought, I'm going to be feeling wretched on board this ship in these bone corsets. But as I boarded, I slipped as I was boarding, and I landed really heavily, and most of the bones broke, which was great. I didn't tell anyone.
I know, because if she comes to launch and you can see people tucking in your family, she's like, I just won't have room for any of that. It's just not, and also when you're in a lot of makeup, you can't put anything greasy, because it lifts it takes the glue off and it can lift. And you've got to, the really specifics, like you're eating anything, it's got to go into your mouth first, then you close your lips and you chew. So you would go for, I'm vegetarian as well, so I'd go for what was on offer to eat, and it'd be like big sloppy spaghetti, and it's like, so you lose the weight, it's quite good. It's a good diet. It's a Silurian diet.